weird. Seems better-ish. So, hi. Leah's voice is still funny.
It is.
I'm going to laugh about that as much as I possibly can.
I hate you.
I know you do, sweetie.
You ever want to have sex again?
Not with, like, an 85-year-old man who's been smoking for 50 years.
Got a new manicure.
That you did. It looks very nice.
You're an asshole.
I am indeed. Anywho, more Brooklyn Nine-Nine tonight. We started with episode 15 of the first season, Operation Broken Feather. So we open on a cops versus fire department football game and the return of Boone. So it was...
Patton Oswalt.
Yeah, it felt like it was setting something up, but no, it's just kind of a one-off gag. Terry is a human cheat code, so basically every play for the cops is just hand the ball to Terry and watch him plow through the entire defense.
Which is funny because Terry Crews himself was a like an NFL football player.
For the Chargers, yep.
It was the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
He has some highlights on YouTube and everything. So, that's all well and good. The cops win, all while you're the best around. No one's gonna ever keep you down. It's playing. So that's fun. Then we get the title sequence, and back at the precinct, Jake is getting ready to question a murder suspect. He's basically got the whole case in the bag. He's got the evidence. He's got everything.
Just needs the confession.
Just needs the confession. Except, turns out Vulture is on his way. So we get the return of the Major Crimes Unit story and the Vulture. The team all agrees to run interference to try to stall him. And they're like, Operation Broken Feathers in effect. So they're all running interference while Jake tries to get the confession, which he does. They completely fail to stop the Vulture, barely slow him down. But by the time he gets there, Jake has a written confession, and even the murder suspect is like, "Yeah, we did it in your face, Vulture." It's like,
I killed him and his neighbor. Wait, you killed his neighbor?
Wait, you killed his neighbor. So then Jake and Amy are then reassigned and working on a jewelry theft case after that. Meanwhile, everyone else has to double down on paperwork. Looks like lockup is full, so Terry has an idea to increase efficiency at the precinct. He presents his plan to Holt, which is basically, he has a whole outline of the layout of the precinct, and he identifies areas where work doesn't happen as well. It's basically like lean kind of analysis. So he identifies things like the Rosa Triangle, because...
Diaz Triangle.
Okay. Right.
That was important.
It was.
You're dead.
Yeah.
That sucks. It's happened to me too.
Wasn't worth relighting. Yeah, so there's a Hitchcock and Scully area where they're inefficient, and then there's the Diaz Triangle where nobody wants to go near Diaz when she's angry.
But that actually works to their advantage because the bathroom is near her desk, so you can't have people go into the bathroom.
Right. So later on they come up with the idea to set her off and cut down on bathroom breaks by 50%. And then there's the
Boyle thing, the toaster.
The Boyle Gina area, because...
Well, there's that, but then there's also Boyle with the toaster, and when he sees somebody making something, he spends 30 minutes telling him how to make perfect panini, so they move the toaster to the break room. Right,
they move the toaster to the break room, and then there's the Boyle Gina thing, because Boyle gets cold at the office, and then he ends up taking sweaters and stuff from the Lost and Found, and Gina makes fun of him, and it turns into a big productivity sink. So they have all these ideas to break up these dynamics and try to make things more efficient. It ends up being very effective, but we'll get there. Let's see. Amy was offered a job in Major Crimes to work with the Vulture. Right, she was offered an interview, sorry. To work with the Vulture, and Jake is not a fan of this idea and tries to convince her not to do it. Terry and Holt break Rose's monitor to make people not want to go to the bathroom. So there's that. Amy is starting to question Jake why he doesn't want her to go to Major Crimes. And he's like, because it's a horrible place and it's a desk job and you wouldn't like it. Like, and also the Vulture is just the worst. Like, so he and Amy are doing this investigation. He's like, this is going to be super fun. I'm going to show you why working in our department is the best, and you're not going to want to take that interview. So that's his... He gives the Jake Peralta guarantee.
There's the ladder. She's like, you said that about dunking a basketball. Flash to a scene where he's at the ladder. He's going to make the basket and the ladder falls. He doesn't make it. It was just so funny.
It was a great pratfall. So yeah, she was like, the last Peralta guarantee didn't even happen. It was like, the subtext of that guarantee was that you would be entertained, which you were.
I love how subtly the writers play with the kind of will they, won't they.
Mm.
Like, it's not in your face.
No,
but they give you just enough to be like, yeah. I said it before, I'll say it again. The way they slow rolled Jake and Amy's relationship, it was perfect. I don't know that I've seen that kind of perfection for a slow rolled relationship in a show. Like, they give you just enough, and then they throw in little,
they both have relationships and stuff like that.
And you want them to get together, but you're not like completely invested in it. So that when they actually do get together, it's satisfying, and you are just satisfied with their relationship.
And it sticks.
It sticks.
They haven't like broken up and gotten back together or anything like that. Like, once they're together, they're together.
Yeah.
And it's they have, relationship struggles, but it's not stuff where they're like, it's over, and then they date somebody else, and then they sleep with somebody else, and it's not that exhausting relationship dynamic.
Even Lily and Marshall had that in How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, oddly enough.
And they're like probably the second best TV couple that hasn't already been established.
Right. Well,
I mean,
they were.
They were, but as far as like marriage goes,
sure, okay, yeah, it was feasible for them to break up.
But I haven't seen like every single show ever, but just based on the shows that I've seen, they have the perfect excuse me, slow roll.
You know what is another... Sorry, I cut you off because I thought you were done because you were coughing.
No, I'm done.
Another good one, in a weird way, was Cox and Jordan from Scrubs. It started out with them being divorced. Like, when we meet them, it's his ex-wife. But from that moment on, they actually do a pretty good job of slow-rolling that as a re-emerging relationship that ends up sticking.
Interesting.
Different, but...
Different. Okay, sure.
But, obviously, off topic. But yeah, Melissa Fumero has some nice facial acting, where, she's got these little subtle smiles when she's asking Jake, why don't you want me to leave? Why, and he's kind of, because that department sucks and the Vulture's the worst. And it's kind of like, sure, okay, yeah. Okay, honey. Holt and Terry are successful in making the office more efficient, but then Holt gets greedy.
He goes full Icarus.
Yes. Terry is like, are you...
And I love that. I love the Greek mythology.
Oh, yeah. Bringing that in, and just also, seeing Holt acting outside of his normal reserved and very formulaic thing. He gets greedy, and he's like, I want this. We can do better. So Terry's like, are you familiar with the story of Icarus?
And you know that he is.
Of course he is, because he's Holt. Holt's like, are you familiar with the story of Moneyball? It's like, what?
Well, it's funny because his husband, as we will learn in the next episode, his husband is the classics professor at Columbia University. So, of course, he's familiar with the story of Icarus.
Yeah.
Greek mythology is like a staple of classics literature.
Oh, absolutely.
So, we don't know that now, but yeah.
We'll find out before this video is over. Meanwhile, Jake is running an auction to try to catch this jewelry thief that he and Amy are working on. So they think the jewelry thief will case the joint, find people who are buying expensive things, and then go and rob them later. So they're like, okay, they're going to go to this auction and try to pick out the suspect at the auction. And Jake's like, I need a better vantage point, so he ends up taking the job of being the auctioneer.
Which, side note, again, we'll find out in the next episode, Amy had taken, I don't know, like one of her degrees was art history. She took art history in college or something, and I'm like, now I'm like, why did they have her
Right.
be the auctioneer?
Well, because, so, as it ends up happening, Jake is fine as an auctioneer, I guess. Well, no, he's terrible, but, he's got the personality to be an MC, right?
Sure.
But he doesn't know anything that they're selling. He's got, there's an ancient vase, and he's like, it's from 5-ish. I'll start bidding at $10, and everybody, okay, that was clearly too low. So Amy would have been good in the recognition department, but I can't see her doing an MC.
Off the cuff.
Yeah. So that's, I think, why Jake took that. But, so he's doing that, and for some reason, Joe Theismann and Adam Sandler are in the audience.
Which is just, perfect. It was so funny.
It's hilarious and completely unexpected. And they're not characters, they're themselves. Adam Sandler bids, and Jake goes, Adam Sandler?
And Adam Sandler's heckling him.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, this is so funny. I love that.
And he was talking about how he was working on a serious film, and then last year, Adam Sandler was apparently an Oscar nominee for a serious film. So, weird. So Jake ends up being able to spot the perp and runs over and tackles him and knocks Joe Theismann over and breaks his other leg.
Oh, the bone's sticking out.
Great little reference to Joe Theismann's tragic end of his career. They catch the perp, and Amy says she's still taking the interview, and Jake's kind of offended, calls her a bad partner. Meanwhile, Holt scolds Jake for trying to talk Amy out of the interview. He's like, we're supposed to build each other up. This is a great opportunity. She wants to be captain someday, because I've seen her wearing my hat before.
Well, I mean, he wouldn't have to have seen her wearing the hat.
Yeah, he could just tell.
But again, Melissa Famero's great facial acting. She's got the little hand mirror with the hat, and she sees Holt walk behind her.
Yeah, the subtleties in this show are actually really good, and that's the stuff that Fox has totally failed in their marketing for the show, because they made it look so over the top and ridiculous, and that's not what makes it funny. It's the subtleties and the chemistry and everything like that.
And aside from maybe 1 or 2 episodes early on, they had some cringe factor. which went a little bit overboard early on, but then they backed off of that. They give you just enough cringe, but they don't overdo it.
All the characters are cringy in their own way, but they're so comfortable in their own skin that they just own it. Like, Boyle's a great example of that. He would be such an awkward, uncomfortable person to be around, but he knows that, and he's just like, yeah, it's just who I am. It's great. It's so easy to watch, this show. So yeah, Holt puts Jake in his place for the way he's treating Amy over this whole interview thing, and Jake kind of acknowledges and realizes it. So let's see. Because of Holt and Terry's rearranging, Boyle catches on fire, and then the squad kind of has an intervention asking Holt and Terry to stop what they're doing. So like, okay, we'll back off.
It was fun.
Yeah. Jake admits to Amy that he doesn't want to lose her as a partner, so he comes out and he's like, yeah, and this job sucks, but it sucks a little bit less when I'm working with you. Duh. Turns out Amy already turned down the offer, and the Vulture shows up and Jake tear gasses him, and they run out. So that's the end of that episode. So then we have episode 16, The Party. So the squad is getting ready for auto-corrected to Holly's birthday party. Holt's birthday party, thank you very much. It's Captain Holt's birthday, and apparently Kevin invited the squad kind of last minute to go to the birthday party. And the squad's kind of like, well, Holt, what? Holt doesn't want us there? What's the deal? But they all agree to go. And Terry calls a meeting to instruct everyone how to behave at the party because he doesn't want them to be humiliating. Which, good call, Terry, because, yeah.
I just think it was interesting how invested he was in making sure the squad didn't screw up, but they never really fully addressed that, like his motivation behind why he was so invested in it.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. It makes sense. His whole job is trying to keep the squad under control. So
it reflects on him.
Yeah. So at the party, there's a funny bit where he's like, everybody bring a bottle of wine, and they all brought the same $8 bottle of wine. Wine drink, what it says on the label. At the party, there's a strict no shop talk policy. So Jake had prepared or everybody really was preparing to regale Kevin and everybody with all these cop stories, and Kevin's like, no, yeah, we don't talk shop here.
Okay.
Which is kind of hypocritical because, he's totally interested in talking about, his business, but no cop talk, whatever. Everybody starts screwing up, and Terry calls a party huddle to tell everybody what to focus on. So he's like, Amy, you have studied this, you find a conversation.
About the art history.
You focus on that. Boyle, you're a foodie. Find something food-related to talk about. Scully, you talk about opera. Hitchcock, you don't talk. And he basically gives the same deal to Jake. He's like, oh, you're Hitchcocking me? So during conversation, Jake mentions a New Yorker article he saw, which piques Kevin's interest. And Kevin's like, I love that piece. Let's talk more about that. I could talk about it for several hours. Let's do that. And Jake realizes he doesn't know the article well enough, and starts...
Because he was hyped up on nitric oxide.
Yeah. He read it at the dentist's office, and he was like, breathing funny.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, what? Oh, but he had said he doesn't have a dentist.
Yeah, that was a joke, the breakfast burrito, which was the gummy bears wrapped up in...
A fruit roll-up.
And Holt was like...
I pity your dentist.
I pity your dentist. And Jake's like, I don't have a dentist.
Oh, that's kind of weird.
It was like because that was...
The previous
that was the previous episode.
Huh. Interesting.
Continuity error.
Continuity error or just Jake being weird? I don't know. That's interesting.
Jake, maybe that's a subtle thing. Like, Jake finally went to the dentist. Because Holt made that crack.
Nice. I like it. Maybe.
Maybe it's one of those, like, hidden Easter egg sort of things that if we pulled up a BuzzFeed article or a Watch Mojo, like...
Oh, you know those are going to start popping up with the last season coming up. We're going to see a lot of that type of article and video coming up. So
I hope that comes up.
Yeah, me too, because that's... Oh, man. Who can we submit this to? We found something! All right, So Jake starts trying to find the issue of the New Yorker so he can brush up on the article, so he has something to talk to Kevin about. Meanwhile, Rosa is on Gina duty. She's basically there to babysit Gina, make sure she doesn't say anything insane, because that's what she does. So Rosa finds a psychologist at the party for Gina to talk to. He's like, hey, she's like, here, this will interest you. Gina, come here. Start talking to him.
And it works.
It works.
And Gina's just like, yeah.
Just talking, talking her Gina talk, and slowly a crowd gathers around her, just like fascinated by her.
And Rosa's just like...
Yeah, Rosa's just like... Jake finds Meg so he's like searching the library, not finding any New Yorkers. He's like, the bathroom.
The crap library.
The crap library. So he holds up in the bathroom trying to find the article. Scully makes himself useful by singing opera again, so kind of calling back to the whole that actor actually did opera. Boyle hits it off with a food author of some kind, and they hit it off really, really, really well. Ew. Terry, Rosa, Boyle, and Gina are the only ones doing well at the party. Jake and Amy are failing. So the rest of them all kind of found a niche to kind of make it there, and Amy's freaking out, and Jake is still trying to find this article. So Terry finds Amy and Jake upstairs. He's like, what are you guys doing? You're ruining this. And they're upstairs, breaking the no upstairs rule at the party. But then they hear Boyle and Kevin approaching. No.
Holt.
I don't know why I said Boyle. Holt and Kevin arguing and approaching, so they all hole up in the bathroom.
Which is where Cheddar is. Cheddar is the dog.
Cheddar is the dog. Amy is deathly allergic to dogs, so she's immediately trying not to sneeze. Holt and Kevin come upstairs. They're arguing. Kevin says that the precinct, essentially, is ruining the party. And Holt tells Kevin he's basically being mean to his whole department. Like,
I actually like them. They're good people.
Yeah.
And then he hears sneezing in the bathroom.
Amy, are you in the bathroom with Cheddar trying not to sneeze? No. So those three are caught, and some things happen, and the squad ends up giving Holt and Kevin a proper birthday dinner date. And they all kind of like acknowledge what they did wrong and put something together, and Scully ends up singing opera.
And I think that kind of helps prove to Kevin that, you know, this isn't the same prejudiced type of people that Holt has been battling his entire life.
Right.
You know?
The reason Kevin doesn't like cops is because of everything Holt went through before he got his position as captain.
Because, you know, gay. Which... And this is an example of something I really appreciate about the show is, at the end of the day, yes, you are going to have out and gay people. I don't agree with the life choices, but they shouldn't have to struggle so much in a secular society because of their life choices.
Right. It's like, okay, if you're so hell-bent on making a godless society, then accept the people in it. If religion's not a part of it, Holt's a good captain, he's a good cop.
He's a good person.
He's a good person. There's no reason why he shouldn't have these opportunities.
Right. I may not agree with it, but his decision to succumb to his base desires is his decision. What's not his decision is the color of his skin.
Right.
And that's where the line gets really fuzzy.
Yeah. Holt's homosexuality is such a secondary part of his personality. It's honestly not brought up a lot, and it doesn't come through in his personality. He's just the captain. He's straight-laced, and
I think it's a little crazy in the later seasons.
A little bit, yeah.
Like, I can't remember why he was doing this, but he was... Oh, because I think he lost his position as captain because of lunch, and he went through, like, this whole thing and crashed Amy and Jake's honeymoon.
Right. But, and even in that episode, he's still... I'm devastated. My world is crashing down around me. And this is me rebelling. Like, it's still him. It's a lot of fun to watch. Alright, so episode 17, Full Boyle. So at the precinct, Boyle's happy because of his new girlfriend. He's also confident and takes the lead in their morning meeting. So, the foodie that he met in the previous episode, Vivian, they are now, pardon me, an item. And Boyle's got a lot of swagger now. And at one point in the meeting, Gina's even like, yeah, I was just attracted to Boyle for a second. Why?
Which is funny.
Right. Because that becomes a thing later. Meanwhile, a young cop asks to meet with Holt because he's a part of this organization that Holt runs. I'm not going to get the anagram right, but it's a black, gay, and lesbian organization of some kind.
But what I just realized was the anagram is as ridiculous as LGBTQ.
Which, I mean, even that anagram has just been growing so much over the last 5 years. It was LGBT, and then it was LGBTQ, and then it was LGBTQ plus, and I'm sure it's not.
But now it's back to LGBTQ.
Oh, it's not plus anymore?
I haven't heard plus.
Oh.
In a while.
I neither know nor care. It's so...
You know... And I'm at the point where I'm like, I am not going to judge you because that's not my place. I'm just here saying, this is what I know will lead you to hell. I'm not going to judge you as a person because that's not my place. But if you're going to get up on your high horse and say all this stuff, the stuff you're saying is wrong. But it's not up to me where you go.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you do you, just don't corrupt my children.
And it sure seems like that's the intent.
Yep.
They are...
The fact that we have to vet the stuff that our kids watch is so hard.
Yeah. Every kid's cartoon. Blue's Clues recently had this whole, like, celebration of gay and trans. Like, there was a whole song about it. It's like, is that necessary in, like, a program intended for, what, like, 3-year-olds? Like, really fucked up. And yes, the answer is yes, it is necessary because their goal is actual indoctrination.
It is.
And that's become abundantly clear. It's funny.
And the fact that people are arguing about if you don't allow your young child to take hormone suppressors is abuse. It's like, no, allowing your child to take hormone suppressors is abuse. Like that, it
shouldn't even be a conversation.
I remember being 5 years old and there was nothing sexual about it or anything, but I was like, I just remember lying in my parents' bed. I was like, I'm a boy. Mom was like, no, you're not. If that conversation had happened 20 years later.
Well, we've had the girls would do that when they were in the bath when they were that age. They would wash their hair, slick their hair back, and say, I'm a boy. Haha, that's funny. No, you're not.
Have you met our kids?
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. I mean, Isaac is.
Oh, yeah. Because he is.
Because he is. Because nature is a thing. Nature is a thing, guys.
And he's very interested in his parts.
Yes, he is. He will tell you before anyone else he's a boy, because he's like, boom, there it is.
It's funny.
It's funny because I get a reaction when I grab my wee-wee. All right, back to the episode. So Holt heads this organization, and a young cop comes and he's like, thank you for, this organization really helped me. I have some ideas. I'm actually going to run for president, which Holt is the current president of. So this guy's looking to supplant Holt. And Holt's like, okay, wonderful to meet you. Leads him out of the office and is like, I have to destroy him. So meanwhile, Jake tells Boyle that he's going full Boyle. Roll credits. About his relationship, which Boyle has a track record of every time he gets a new relationship, he falls head over heels, goes right into the deep end, wedding bells start ringing in his head, whole deal. So Jake's trying to save him from that. And Boyle's like, no, I know full Boyle. I'm not going full Boyle. But he's totally going full Boyle. Meanwhile, a vigilante named Super Dan shows up at the precinct asking to talk to a detective. So it's a guy in, like, pajamas and a bedsheet tied like a cape around his neck. It's like, where's a detective I can talk to? And everybody's like, Amy and Rosa blow him off, like, nope, sorry, I can't help you, I'm working on an excuse. Oh, sorry, I just retired. So they refuse to take a statement from him.
But Terry goes full Terry.
Terry goes full Terry, and we'll get there. Boyle asks Jake for help because he realizes he is going full Boyle. Holt we're jumping around. Holt asks Gina for help winning the election, so he makes her his campaign manager. Jake and Boyle are preparing for an undercover gig, and meanwhile Jake is helping Boyle with the whole going full Boyle thing, so he's like advising him while they're preparing for this undercover sting. Meanwhile, we use that word a lot, we jump around. Terry takes Amy and Rose's drug case that they've been working on and gives it to Hitchcock and Scully, because they actually took Super Dan's statement, and he has a bunch of evidence on a bunch of the drug dealers. He's been taking pictures of all the drug deals going on around town. He can ID a lot of the dealers. So it's like, oh, shit. Okay, whoops.
Whoopsie.
Whoopsie. Son of a biscuit. Talking makes the smoking hard. Gina and Holt's campaign. Okay. So, Boyle's 20-day anniversary with Vivian is coming up. And he's clearly going way over the top with his date plans for it. So Jake is like, you know what? Tell Vivian that you made it a double date. I'll come with you, and I'll be able to hold your hand through the whole thing, kind of guide you through it. So that's how he's going to help Boyle. So Vivian shows up to the double date and brings Bernice, who is the date for Jake, and she turns out to be like really attractive, despite the fact that Vivian is like 20 years older than Boyle. She brings an age-appropriate, attractive girl for Jake's date.
And she is a huge diehard fan. She loves the Nets. Like, and Jake is just like,
Jake starts losing his cool. He's like, I don't know if I can help you on this date, Boyle, because I'm getting really into this girl over here. So Jake's trying to run interference during the date and keeps like totally cutting off the conversation and making it super awkward. Vivian and Bernice go to powder their nose, and Jake's like, Boyle, just go. Just leave. I'll make an excuse for you. Got to get out of here or you're going to totally blow this. So cut back to the precinct. Rosa and Amy are begging Terry for the case back. Like, you've made your point. Hitchcock and Scully are totally screwing this up. Like, just let us back in. Terry's like, no. Super Dan refuses to work with you because you wouldn't take his statement. So, sorry. It's done. Also, the election debate is that night. Holt is nervous, and Gina tries to set up her dance troupe, Floorgasm, as like somehow helpful to his campaign. He sends them all home. But he's nervous about it, but then the election debate starts. Did I get back to that? No. So this young cop, Brian, presents his case, and while he's talking, Gina and Holt have a conversation where Holt's like, I've had this position for 25 years. I can't lose it to this young upstart. And Gina's like, why? You set up this organization so that guys like Brian would have this opportunity. Some of his ideas aren't too bad. Why are you standing in his way? And Holt kind of reflects on that. After Brian finishes with his speech, Holt gets up and pulls himself from the race and says to Brian, congratulations, position's yours. But if you ruin this, I will impeach you. I wrote the bylaws. I know how. But good luck. But I will impeach you. Like,
in a very Holt way.
Being Holt. So after Boyle bails from the date, Jake says to the ladies, sorry, Boyle had an emergency. He got called away. We're cops. That happens. But he sees Boyle returning, so he's like, all right, thanks for coming, bye. Dismisses them and intercepts Boyle, who was returning because he was like, I blacked out and walked into a pawn shop, and now I have an engagement ring, and we gotta go propose. Jake's like, no! So he wrestles the ring away, threatens to drop it in hot dog water at a hot dog stand, and they pull pepper spray on each other and spray each other in the eyes. Hilarity ensues. Meanwhile, Amy and Rosa take Super Dan's statement. Basically, they're like, I'm sorry.
Righting their wrong.
They're righting their wrong. They make things right. And at the end of the episode, it turns out that Vivian has also gone full Boyle. So, after the date, Jake kept an eye on Boyle's phone, and Vivian, like, texted and called and left a bunch of messages, and he's like, no, yeah, she's gone full Boyle. I don't know what's going on here, but whatever you do, you're not going to scare her off, because she's gone full Boyle. So Jake sets up a meeting for her and Boyle in the interrogation room. Boyle proposes to her, and she accepts. And then as Amy and Jake are watching this whole interaction, they start making out really... Boyle and Vivian start making out heavily, and Jake and Amy run away.
Well, Amy runs away and has to drag Jake out.
And Jake's like, hey, but we can see it. They can't see us. Jake! Sorry. And yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I love the relationships in the show. It's fun. I may not agree with everything that they're putting out there, but it's good.
Good. Son of a... So, I was smoking, right? And I felt a little tickle. A bug was crawling over my hair, and I didn't care very much. Then I took a smoke, I took a drag, and as I was inhaling, I felt the bug drop into my inhaling vacuum.
And this was after you found a big old bug in your water bottle?
Oh, yeah.
This morning?
Yeah. Maybe it's on video when the bug crawled in, but I got to work this morning, and I was about to take a drink from a water bottle, found a big old bug floating in it, which must have happened last night, but throughout the night and the morning, I'd been drinking from the water bottle. Didn't drink that one. Maybe I drunk a bug, but yeah, so I was drinking bug water all morning and all night. So yeah.
And you just inhaled a bug.
And I just inhaled one. It is now in my lungs.
Is it?
No, I don't think so.
Gross.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I got.
Good times.